Well, I switched there. How y'all guys? This is Joey. I'm doing another video from the car because I'm at swim practice and just the videos don't stop coming. Okay, the news doesn't stop, and neither does New World Cricket. So that's showing you the dedication right now. I don't know why I'm talking in a New York accent. Maybe because I'm gonna go to New York in a couple of days. Bada bing, bada boom. Yes, Joey will be in New York in 2 days in this car itself. This is the junk car because it's the car I take to work. uh I hope everything's going to be good. I'm going to see Canada versus Ireland. Go Canada. And I'll be seeing South Africa versus Netherlands. Go Netherlands or South Africa. Now, why didn't I get tickets to an American game? Well, because they were probably too expensive, or I live in DC area, so I had to go to a New York game. Anyway, it worked out how it worked out. We're gonna be talking about if this Cricket World Cup is a success. Is it a success so far? A lot of people would say yes. I mean, the USA game was really, really fun against Canada. Again, we whooped their asses, and like I told you, we would. What about the pitch at New York? Is it a good pitch? We just saw another really low scoring game with Ireland and India. Is it a fair advantage that certain teams they don't have to travel as much as other teams? Is it right for United States to get a World Cup? I mean, I really don't think so. I don't really think it's necessary, but we'll see. So this is MEA Master on the Discord sent me this video. If you're not on the Discord, what are you doing? Go to the Discord. I can't put the Discord, all that stuff there right now because I'm in the car. But I just thought I had a big booger in my nose. I was like, oh no, I'm not even going to edit that out too. If I have a booger in my nose, I'm not editing it out. Go to the Discord right now. Join the Discord. MEA Master told me like he was in the Discord and then his grades started improving like rapidly once he got into the Discord. We don't know why, but just good things happen to good people on the Discord. So do that. I'm going to share this article right here, and we're going to talk about it. This is from Rupa Ramani from what's it called? First Post. It's an Indian organization in English. So I know your boy's learning Hindi, but I don't speak that good of Hindi. So let's take a listen to this.
A rained-off game, close to zero attendance in another, a few one-sided affairs, two test-playing nations pulling out a dull 78-run target. These have been some of the face-offs at the T20 World Cup so far. Now, don't get me wrong, there have been a few thrilling moments too. Like Namibia's win over Oman in a super over, USA's Aaron Jones striking a blistering 94 of 40 balls to help USA register a win against arch rivals Canada. And the heartwarming stories some of these associate countries and their players bring to a World Cup make for compelling narratives. No doubt. But I ask, in the desire to play the Good Samaritan here, has the ICC...
I got to stop there. She says, in the desire to play the Good Samaritan here. ICC is not being a good Samaritan by just bringing cricket to the United States and including more associate nations. Why do you think the ICC would have an event in the United States and bring in more countries? Why? I'm asking my students. Okay, this money, yes, it's money. Good Samaritan is like a good Samaritan is somebody who helps you, and despite them having to do something else, like they'll stop on the way. It's from the Bible. Okay, read it. So yeah, ICC is not being a good Samaritan in any case here. That's ridiculous. When I first heard that, I'm like, no way. I'm gonna rewind it. But ICC is not being a good Samaritan here. This is all about money and a quick cash grab for the ICC.
But I ask, in the desire to play the Good Samaritan here, has the ICC failed in a few of its key deliverables? I'll explain. Now, what are some of the great things that the ICC wants to achieve via this World Cup? Take cricket as a sport to uncharted territories. So ICC is zeroed in on USA. The Big Apple is big money. So what if all the venues here are not massive or cannot seat a usually big cricket viewing crowd? Let me put this in perspective. Stadium capacity in US, the Nassau is the largest, seats 34,000 or thereabout. Then comes, of course, Lauderhill in Florida that seats 20,000. And then there is the Dallas ground, which seats merely 7,200 spectators. These are the three venues in USA for a World Cup event. Now compare that to some of the biggest in other countries
Well,
that has hosted big events.
before we get there, I mean, take a look at the venues in West Indies themselves. Like my question is, why was West Indies chosen at all? Because certain countries, I mean, she's going to use the examples of Australia, India. Okay, and I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair because if we look at the venues here, okay, the United States venues are some of the biggest. You have Sir Vivian Richards Stadium. It's 10,000 people. Oops. That looks really bad. I can't edit that out. Dang it. Okay. Sir, look at this. Sir Vivian Richards Stadium's 10,000 people. Kensington Oval, 28,000 people. Providence Stadium, 20,000 people. Okay. Arnos Vale, 18,000. Okay. And these are usually expanded from their usual, like these are the expanded capacity. Queens Park Oval, which didn't host any games, which I don't know why. They only hosted warm-up games in Trinidad and Tobago, 20,000. And then Brian Lara Cricket Academy. I don't know why that stadium is hosting games and not the other one in Trinidad and Tobago. So let's take a look at the United States. Broward County Stadium, Central Broward Park, 25,000. That's a really decent stadium, dude. That is the best stadium in the Americas, other than Province Stadium in Guyana. Nassau County Stadium, a temporary stadium, 34K, and then Grand Prairie Stadium, 15,000. That's decent. Okay, if that wasn't ready for a World Cup, then don't have it here. But like, don't compare it to the West Indies stadiums. Don't compare it to the biggest stadiums in the freaking world, because obviously Australia is going to win, like they always do. Okay, but just keep that into perspective.
Such as the World Cup. In Australia, Melbourne is the largest, seats a lakh. In New Zealand, Wellington.
Look at that. Nassau County Stadium is on par with South Africa. It's bigger than Lord's, okay? It's close to Wellington in New Zealand. And you just have two stadiums that are like 100,000. And we talked about Narendra Modi Stadium at the start of the Cricket World Cup in 2023, how it was almost empty. I mean, could you imagine how empty that stadium would be for a T20 World Cup with these kind of crowds?
Wellington seats 35,000. In South Africa, Wanderers in Johannesburg seats 34,000. In the UK, Lords seats around 32,000. India, the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad can seat 132,000 people. And here's the thing, these countries have other venues that also have a large seating capacity. But I get this initiative. It's an attempt to grow the sport. The other goal, of course, is to increase the associate countries count, bring more competitors for a seat at the table. So this edition has seen 9 associate teams, the most for any T20 World Cup. USA, Canada, and Uganda are making their T20 World Cup debuts. And Nepal comes in after a massive gap. USA played their first T20 international just 5 years ago. It's a melting pot of players from different countries, including India and New Zealand. Canada is no stranger to cricket. They've appeared in 4 World Cups, but never crossed the group stage, and it's the first time at a T20 World Cup. Uganda is making its T20 World Cup debut after 8 failed attempts to qualify, so a big, big moment for them, and the country, I'm sure, is rejoicing. Nepal, who are making their T20 World Cup appearance for the first time in over 10 years. They last featured in the 2014 edition. So all of this is.
So, like, these countries need to be in T20 World Cups. I mean, you could make an argument like the Cricket World Cup, the 50 over World Cup. Okay, we're going to have less teams for that. But 20 teams for a Cricket World Cup seems perfect to me. maybe 18, 16 teams I would go for. But like Nepal needs to be in every Cricket World Cup going forward. Every Cricket World Cup going forward, Nepal needs to be in. Scotland needs to be in. Ireland needs to be in. United States or Canada needs to be in. You have to have that every Cricket World Cup going forward. Cricket needs to think of itself, and this is something rugby does really, really well. If you go to the Rugby World Cup, there's 20 teams, 10 really good teams, like test teams, and then 10 like associate teams. And there's some teams that get smoked, like a smoked sausage on a hot summer day, okay? But it helps grow the sport. Having the Cricket World Cup, having Uganda there really helps. So I don't know what their point is here, but this is brilliant. Having 20 teams, it brought me in. It brought a lot of new fans in. So you need 20 teams. Now, 20 teams is perfect because you don't want like huge blowouts, okay? You don't want gigantic blowouts. But Afghanistan, that game the other day, you don't want that all the time. But this is good for what it is.
Is great to see, heartening for the sport. But has ICC really prepared well for what comes along with noble gestures, at least in this edition? Let's look at the first cricket in Americas. It's a country that has never hosted a mega cricket event. We cannot count Major League Cricket or that All Stars mini tournament that Sachin Tendulkar and Shane
Come
Warne
on.
orchestrated years ago. This is a World Cup that requires a certain level of infrastructure in place, logistics, planning, and the right kind of execution in various departments, starting with the venue. The very first match played at Nassau, Sri Lanka versus South Africa, has brought the venue under sharp focus. Sri Lanka managed to make just 77 batting first, and South Africa reached the target after 16 excruciating overs. It needed some amount of aptitude to play on that track, sure, but the pitch is already raising many eyebrows. How will the other tracks play is a question many are asking. And as India plays Ireland today, one of the things in focus will be that pitch. But it was not just the drop in pitches garnering the criticism, even
Yeah.
the outfield was very slow.
Stop it. Stop talking for a second. Yeah, the pitch. I mean, we could talk about the pitch in Nassau County Stadium. Yes, that was a bad. It was rushed. It was so rushed. It wasn't ready. Yes, you could criticize that all day, and we'll make a separate video of that. Like, there's going to be a multi video series on this. But the cricket stadium in New York it has problems, and it's not fair. I don't. They can't let this happen again. I like defensive pitches though. I mean, I'm enjoying it. I don't care, but you can't rush a stadium like this. Like, grow the everything outside of New York and then like ship it in and then just drop it in, boop, 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 and then like yay cricket. Like, you really need to have a cricket stadium in use for a year. They should make a rule like that. You have to have a cricket stadium in use for a year in order for it to be used in the World Cup. A year is fair. But none of these drop-in pitches, none of these modular. I mean, make modular attendance, capacity, but make it a regular cricket stadium to begin with. There's problems, and we're going to do a video about this later.
Slow with puffs of sand spurting in certain patches. Not the kind of T20 cricket that fans are used to watching around the world thanks to the leagues. And this display coming from proper teams who've played the sport for decades, Sri Lanka and South Africa. Which brings me to the second area of concern, too many associate countries. Now, while in one way, bringing in some fresh energy, raw talent onto a big platform could jazz up the World Cup, is probably a good notion to begin with. Maybe a few of these hungry countries will put up quite the show, who knows? But then it also opens the possibility and the door to some heavily skewed one sided affairs, like when some of these sides play the big boys in India, England, and Australia. And that does little for the sport, the fans, and the players.
That
T20
point.
cricket fans are now used to action packed matches, high scoring affairs, blistering hits, and tight finishes with some maverick bowling efforts. That's what a seasoned cricket fan and a new one in America are paying to watch. Are they going to get all of that, the best of T20 cricket action throughout the tournament? Now, let's see this from ICC's point of view. Their aim is to grow the sport, and while any Good Samaritan act is done with little or no expectations of what you will get in return,
Exactly.
ICC or the various stakeholders in this unique venture cannot function with that thought alone. America is all about the big dream. It sells that, the big city, the flashing lights. Everyone comes here to realize the big American dream. So have
I can't believe she would even, or whoever wrote this would say like Good Samaritan in the same, breath as ICC. Like none of this has anything to do with being a Good Samaritan. It's all a business decision. Why would you host anything in the United States of America were it not for business? Okay, come on. They would never host this in the United States just to be a good person. You would host it in, if you want to do that, go to the Bahamas, go to, Bermuda, or maybe even like Canada somewhere. But United States in New York, the specific reason why they had it in New York was that there was a huge Southern Asian population in New York. That's why it was held in New York. Okay. So I'm not sure why you could even say Good Samaritan in the same breath as that. Are there problems with this World Cup? Absolutely. Do they bring it up in the right ways? Well, yes and no. There's problems with the stadium, but there's problems with the stadium. But I would say that the associate nations is a good thing. Having more associate nations, now they could maybe organize it a little bit better. Will cricket grow in the United States? Absolutely. Will it grow with this World Cup? Hopefully a little bit, but there's a lot of work to be done. And if you check out a lot of things, a lot of it was very poorly organized. And we'll go over that and just check out this channel. I'll be in New York on Friday. Check that out on this channel. All the best news and information for you guys on YouTube. Like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next video. Peace.